And welcome to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul DiRienzo.
And I'm Miss Joan Marie Musi.
And our guest is Kennedy Yanko, who is the great artist who has produced the painting that we have actually here, not a print, but the actual painting, and another painting here to show you. And we're going to talk about her work.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming to the show.
To be here and be able to talk to you guys about my work and what's going on in New York right now in the art scene.
All right, excellent.
Excellent.
Now this is such a beautiful behind us, and the colors are absolutely amazing. And because I've looked at your website, some other of your work, that's probably the first thing I want to talk about is color, because you have such an incredible sense of color and the way you use it in the surprising ways. And
you know, it's really nice to hear that, because when I talk about art, or I feel like the art world in general has been really contrived in the way that it becomes something so much more than something simple like color. And that's what really inspires me, is color. And I look at my color palette and I see what I have to work with, and that's where the inspiration comes from. It comes from the way the painting is going to be compromised, and then how the colors play together with each other. And that's what my bio really should say, is I just like pretty colors.
So that is your starting point.
It really is. It really
Right,
is. That's what I love. That's what I love.
Tell us about the painting behind us. I mean, it's basically orange and purple.
Yes, it's orange,
Yellow
and
and
purple,
white.
and yellow and white.
We can give folks a chance to see it. Maybe we can
And this
pull
is-
it up. Can we pull it up,
Yeah,
up and over,
yeah,
like very
totally.
carefully? Be careful.
Do you want to put it in front of us?
Yes, just for a
Okay.
moment.
Yeah, totally.
And then we can put it back without. Whoop, whoop. There we are. We don't want to get you
We're gonna do the dance
hooked.
today.
Here it is. Oh wow. Okay, it's a little
Now,
different.
is this oil paint?
No, this is all acrylic. It's house
acrylic.
paint.
Okay.
And it's this has been kind of a new riff off of my Wu Wei collection, which is Wu Wei means to allow. So what happened here is I'm allowing the paint to do what it wants to do. I pour it onto the canvas, and then I using very small brush techniques manipulate it, but I move the paint around and let it kind of create itself. And that's what Wu Wei became, and it became more of an artistic surrender to letting the work do what it wants to do.
So it's
Wow.
about, starting point is color, but then it's also about movement.
Let's move it to
Yeah.
the side. Can we turn it 180 degrees to the left? And then just so folks can fit it into their screen a little better. I mean, it's not perfect this way,
There we
but,
go.
but there we go. And folks can see just how beautiful this is.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a new experiment for me, just really letting the paint do what it wants to do. As a painter, we're normally finding ways to manipulate it, finding ways to make, but this time it's really just letting it be what it needs to be, what it wants to
Now,
be.
so are you anti-technique, or?
I'm I'm absolute technique, but I'm all about experimenting.
Okay,
I mean,
great.
every time when I paint, I love to try new things. Like another collection I'm doing right now is using only saliva as liquid to move the paint around.
Oh wow!
And-
You mean with like powdered paint?
Turn
Or?
it to me, 180 degrees, and then we can lift it up and over and back
Okay.
over our heads.
I'm gonna
very
dance.
carefully.
I'm gonna dance.
Yes,
Okay.
the dance.
We'll use my overalls as the new.
As we're
Okay.
carefully put it on the easel back here.
Perfect.
Okay.
There we go. Hey, can you believe we did
Wow,
that?
we did it. It's a big, heavy painting.
That's amazing. That's
yeah,
right. Weight-bearing
right,
exercise.
Right. Well, everybody's worth it for art to have
Yeah.
everybody see it.
So now I also know that you have done live painting, which I'm fascinated with because I adore.
What is that? What is so fascinating about it?
Well, I just think that to see the creation happening right before you is so interesting. And also, I used to work with a man named Ethel Eichelberger, and one of the most interesting, compelling videos that's left of his live performance was a performance at 8BC, which is a performance space that existed back in the 80s in the East Village. And he was on stage with a painter painting. And I just loved that, and I would love to do it sometime. So I hope sometime
Yeah.
you'll do that with
Oh,
me.
absolutely.
And what is it like doing that live instead of alone in a studio? And
It's different, and you kind of lose a little bit of the process. You get to see the movement, and what happens with me when I paint live is I do things that I'm comfortable with.
Right.
So I would work in a manner that I know how to use, and that I'm not really experimenting.
super experimental.
Yeah.
Right?
So you don't get that complete exposure of the artist process. But it is really nice to interact with people, and it's a totally different experiment. I have a bunch of my pieces hanging up right now at Cocoa Bar at 19 Clinton Street.
Oh yeah, everybody should see that.
Cocoa Bar is really cool. It's a fun little spot. But one of the pieces that's there is what I did at a live show at this cool place called Fix on Clinton Street also.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, it was just, different things come out, and I think that the crowd and the music also play different.
I think so. In any live performance, right, there's an energy that comes back at you from the audience, and it really colors what you do, whether you're performing or painting or whatever it is.
Well, it's funny that you bring the energy of the audience coming back, because I also do performance with the Living Theater.
Oh, okay.
And we've kind of thrived off of audience interaction and how what we're putting out there and how the audience is reacting to it really creates the play.
Now tell us a little bit about how you got into painting. Like, did you go to art school? Did you start as a kid?
Art school. Well,
the art school of hard knocks.
Yeah, right. Not really, but I started painting when I was about 5.
Oh, okay.
How big that is. And it's just something I always loved to do. And then when I was 15, I started showing my work, and just knowing that this is something that I want to make a career and something that I want to grow off.
Now,
where are you from originally?
I'm from St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh.
Is that where you started painting, in St. Louis?
Yes, and I still have a studio there.
And how long have you been in New York?
I have been between New York and Miami and St. Louis for the last 3 years, so I've been living a bit of a nomadic lifestyle.
Sure. Miami? What part of Miami?
In South Beach.
That's what I figured as much. So is that, do you have a studio there? You've been
No,
doing
no.
I mean, you get a lot of interesting ideas and inspiration there.
It's a nice place to go and relax and calm down, but I love being in New York. I love the people. It's really inspiring. And as far as school goes, I went to the San Francisco Art Institute for a year, and I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot about new genres and installation work, and that kind of helped me move into new areas of work. So I started doing installation and sculpture, and I also do photography. But for painting, I found that experimentation is really the best way to grow.
Now, were your parents artists, or are they artists?
My father's an architect.
Okay.
And my mother, she did PR, and she's very creative with writing. It's funny, though, when I first started showing my work and really got into working in the studio, my dad was just re-excited about it, and he started showing too. So I've actually been trying to put together a father-daughter show for us in St. Louis.
how fun.
But
That's great.
He's a wonderful painter.
Now, are these the clothes that you paint in?
This is my work.
Show people. This is how energetic her work is.
When I paint, I work on the floor.
Yeah.
So I use my whole body and I wipe my hands off. But when I walk around in the streets with these on, I can't go 10 feet without getting stopped. And that's what inspired my clothing line. It's called Yanko by Kennedy Yanko, and it's all custom painted. And what I do is I'll take people's clothes, they'll send them in, so it's kind of a way to recycle your older things.
All right.
And then I hand paint them all.
Nice.
And I brought some examples here
let's
with
see.
me.
All right, excellent.
This is a pair of shorts from...
That's adorable.
I made a little key ring from the paint opener. It's the back of them. And so people have been really excited about...
You can pick it up a little closer so people can get a close look at it.
Their clothes handmade, and...
I love the idea that they send in something that already fits nicely.
Exactly. And that's
cool.
the fun part, is if you have that one pair of jeans that you can't really wear anymore because maybe they're not in style, but they fit so well and you want something new, it gives it a nice little sparkle. Excellent. And this is a jacket, a denim jacket. And I think, do you want to try it on, Jen?
Sure, I'd love to.
I'll help you out.
Okay.
It'll be very ladylike.
This is the first tryout we ever did, I think.
Oh, all right. Modeling, yeah.
That's the first modeling. Now you have to
Stand up
stand
for
up.
everybody?
Yeah, you can turn around. There it is.
Can anybody whistle? I don't know how to whistle.
I'm not that good at it.
Gorgeous.
All right, excellent. I
And
love
then we've
it.
got a dress too. These are all from the lookbook. So these are kind of the general pieces that I show whenever I talk about the line.
That's adorable.
These are for sale, and then whenever anyone wants to send in their stuff, I can do. We can talk about colors.
Now tell us how people can find out more, see more of the paintings and all of that.
All the paintings, photography, installation, and sculpture, and the clothing line are on my website. It's KennedyYankoArt.com.
Okay, now spell your last name. Kennedy is
KENNEDY, Yanko, YANKOART.com.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And
All right,
so,
we'll repeat that a little later on.
yeah.
Do I have to take this off now?
You can leave it on
Oh,
if you
okay.
like. I mean, if you, I know you like to match, and this is a very sporadic
Well, it sort of
design,
matches
so-
with anything, right? Exactly. Should we look at this other
Yeah,
painting
yeah.
too? Because this is quite beautiful as
Thank
well.
you.
So,
Is it?
and the other one is quite large. This is not a small painting.
All right,
Now, do you work generally in a large scale?
Yes. Actually, I much prefer to work very, very large. This
Okay.
is actually one of my medium-sized paintings.
Oh, all right. Now, how big do you go?
My largest one right now is 8 feet. Is 9 feet by 6 feet.
Oh, so that is big.
It's
yeah.
very big, and I would like to work way bigger than that.
Okay,
so
great.
that is only to come in the future. But this smaller piece, this is called The Connection, and this came from a little experimentation with collage.
I see it has some dimension.
Yeah. I really wanted to just try something different and see what would happen to rip up the paper, rip up the canvas, and I think that the milieu that I've been running into has had a little inspiration. I find that a lot of nomadic artists will do more collage. It's easier to move around with, and a lot of the people from a lot of the theater.
And the street must be inspiring you too, because when
yeah.
people put up their flyers and it peels back
my
and the
God.
layers, and it's such an interesting look too.
Actually, that's more of my photography.
Okay.
Most of my photography. I used to do more fashion photography and erotic photography, and then it really started to transform into these macro details. So I did a whole series of industrial land and trash, and I got really, really close, and it started to look like my painting.
Oh, how interesting.
So just to see the ripped paper. And the
So, you know, I wanted to
cement.
ask
Right,
you
yeah, show
something
that.
else about
Let's-
the paintings that I just thought of when Paul was showing that. Is there a top, bottom, and side, or can people
Yes.
do it however they want to see it?
Well, here's the nail up here, so
Well,
it's just like
this one I think yes, but when I'm painting it will change around and move around, but I know when I'm standing it and I'm done, I know
how
how
it should
is.
go. Yeah.
If you buy it, you can do whatever you want with it.
right.
That's another story.
Right, now what's the face down here? Here's the face in the bottom.
That was a face that I found in a magazine. I called this The Connection because it's based off of a play that was done in the Living Theater.
Okay.
And it was about jazz musicians and their addiction to drugs, to heroin, and kind of just that whole era.
Yeah.
So
Tell us a little bit more about what the Living Theater is, because folks might not know the Living Theater, and we're going to do a show on the Living Theater once in its entirety, but tell us a little bit about the Living Theater. What
The
is
Living
that?
Theater was started by Judith Milena
And Julian Beck.
And Julian Beck. And Judith is still living and thriving and going strong and probably watching right now.
All right, excellent. Hi, Judith.
And it's based on, it's an anarchist, nonviolent experimental theater company, and they have been just taking the theater world by storm since they began, moving around a lot, and
Well, they're certainly one of the most influential theater companies from the 1960s, in that era when a lot of experimental theater was happening and things were changing and breaking the fourth wall and doing. These people were in the forefront of that,
Yeah.
the Living Theater.
they're very well known for Paradise Now, which I think a lot of people are familiar.
Also do an anti-war piece in Times Square on a regular basis, which is
We
really.
haven't been doing as much street theater lately. I don't know why. Maybe we'll have to get onto that. We'll just see what we have.
It has been 101 degrees every day this summer.
That's true.
That would discourage the strongest of us. But, so that's interesting. So, the Living Theater being a theatrical thing and linking it with the visual art is fascinating. So you find there's a sort of a cross-pollination.
I think the Living Theater in general is a cross-pollination of artists, period, and just the process, period. But I think that Judith was so accepting to me as an artist because of her love for painters, with Julian being an artist. For me as a painter, performance has just been a broadening experience. And also I teach Qigong and I teach yoga, so to use my body in the way I work and in my life has always been relevant. So that's been also very interesting.
What's Qigong?
Qigong is energy work. It's Chinese meditation. And it's basically, I created a system called Qiantra, and it incorporates vinyasa flow of and the asana of yoga, and then the energy work of Qigong. So we focus a little bit more on the meditation and the mental intention in the practice.
All right.
Very interesting. So tell us a little bit about how you come to start a painting. Like, what's your process? What's the first thing you do? Do you get up in the morning and say, I'm going to do a painting? or does it come sort of like in the course of something else? Or
Well, I'm a binge painter. So when I paint, it's ridiculous. When I paint a whole lot at once and very easily prolific in a short amount of time. So I'll usually have a week's amount of time, but I sit down and I pick out my color palette, just the few colors that I want to do for one piece. And when I have my studio in St. Louis, I'll work on about 5 or 10 pieces at a time. But because of my situation here, I've been working out of the theater, and it's been nice to focus on one piece. So for this piece, I sat down, I focused on it, and I just moved around the paint, moved around the color. I never have any idea what's going to happen, which is the fun part, because I get to play with it.
And watch really it reveal itself.
Exactly. It's a very intimate relationship that I have with my canvases. And then I leave the studio covered in paint.
Well, it might be good to film you in action. That would be like something we could show. I remember seeing the movie about Jackson Pollock, and he was one of the first artists I think who was really filmed while he was in the process of doing it. So people were so fascinated with how he did it, as much as the beauty of the painting, and so he fascinated people that way. So the idea is when you're an active painter, rather than the type who sits there like Michelangelo for 2 years before he takes out a chip of stone, which is a documentary I was just watching today, so I know that's a fact. So as far as the documentary is concerned, and it makes it something that you can really follow visually. It's almost like a performance in the actual painting, the way you're describing it.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Well, tell us a little bit more about because you are so young and your work is pretty mature. How did you go from being a kid to being such a mature painter?
Well, what would you describe as mature painting?
That you could put it in a museum.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You could put it in a gallery.
Thank you.
Show it and have an opening.
I don't know. I mean, my work has always been abstract, and I've always just done what feels right. I don't know if there's a maturity level on it, and I feel that as an artist in general, I really want to continue to not get too comfortable. I found that when people, their work starts to get noticed, they kind of fall into this place of what they know is right and what's their flavor and their signature. And I want to constantly keep changing and taking myself out of my comfort zones and trying new things. So maybe that's my advanced practice of moving forward.
Well, it's always interesting when somebody's very directed at a young age, because there is something to experience. And so if you start painting when you're 4 or 5, then by the time you're 20, you've painted, for 15 years. Somebody who starts painting when they're 20 has got to be 35 before they've painted for 15 years. So it gives you a head start in the experience department.
Yeah. And that's been such a gift to have such a head start on a career.
Right.
I don't feel as much pressure.
You know what you wanted to do from a young age.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it's been a blessing.
Yeah.
What would you, as far as artists who might be watching right now, young artists who are watching you right now, what would you, any advice you would give them and how to deal with like the doubts they might have or the questions they might have, or how do you go about it? Or
as a young artist, I think the most important thing to do is keep creating. I think that, or for anyone, if you're passionate about something, the energy that you put into it is going to come right back to you. And just know yourself.
And of course, you were lucky to have parents who nurtured you and who supported what you were doing, and a lot of people don't have that, so they have to have that core belief that they can do this, and you're right, they have to follow what they think is right. It's not easy for a lot of people.
It's incredibly tough, and you have to just be so grounded and so confident in it, and just know that the world is rooting for you to do what you want, I promise.
There's only one you.
Yeah.
Right. Now, it seems like the basic color, you have purple and orange back here. We have a lot of orange here. Is that a recent color thing you've been doing?
That is a paint bucket that I found. I've been actually, it's funny, this paint is house paint. It's very inexpensive for me, so I get the oops paints, like the mess-up colors.
The people that don't.
Which I highly suggest for artists who are trying to save money, is to get the oops paints. And they're about $5 a gallon, so this was one color that I've been using for, I guess, my next collection.
Your orange period.
Exactly.
Very nice.
So yeah, the orange has been fun, and I do love purple and yellow a lot.
Me too.
I don't think I have a limited palette whatsoever.
In terms of color,
Right. It's just it happens to be the paintings we're looking at. It's interesting that you picked the jazz musicians on heroin, because that's the kind of thing we've dealt with on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've done a lot of work on addiction.
Yeah, we had a lot of people talk about addiction on the show, and so was that what?
Yeah, what drew you to that?
Yeah.
Kind of. It wasn't intentional.
We know you're not a heroin addict. We can tell.
It wasn't.
Check her arms. She's an artist.
It wasn't intentional. Just like with whenever I'm painting a piece, I never really know what's going to come out, and anything that does happen at the end that I see, it's just kind of what the story is being told. Like for this piece, I looked at it, and it looks like an acid trip. Like it looks like someone who's on drugs, and it was fitting to name it The Connection, because it is my home in the Living Theater. But that's, when I name my pieces, it's more of what feeling they evoke, not about what my intentions are.
So you don't start with a title?
Nah, that's more kind of the other thing. Like when I said I wish my bio was just pretty colors.
Right.
The title it's just fluff.
It comes to you later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So
now why don't you tell everybody your website again, just so we can keep people who've just tuned in informed.
My website is www.kennedyyankoart.com. It's KENNEDYYANKOART.com, and that has my paintings and my custom painted clothing line Yanko, and installation and photography.
Oh, and let's talk about your video blog a little bit. Tell us what is a video blog, what drew you to do it.
Well, technically it's called a vlog.
Okay.
And I'm still not okay with using that term, but it's the riff off of a blog, so it's video. And what I do on my video blog, it's Kennedy's Corner, and it's hosted at a website called doyousocial.com. And on my blog, it kind of just follows my progress as an artist. It's a really deep journey, and again, trying to hold on strong to that grounding and to move forward against what society.
So you just talk to the camera?
I have very intimate conversations with the camera, and I also interview artists whose work I enjoy.
Right, excellent.
And I travel often too, so I give everyone a little taste of the traveling, and we'll go to different venues and different places. And that's basically what it's about. But it's doyousocial.com, Kennedy's Corner. And, you can follow my work there and see other artists that are blossoming in the Lower East Side. See what you're up to. Yeah.
Excellent.
It's been a really cool experience.
I bet it's fun.
To do that.
Yeah.
Where do you film it? Do you go to studio, right in your studio? Or?
I do wherever I can. My friend Brent takes his camera and does it whenever we're around and about. And I have a little video camera. I use my camera on my computer to do it. And then I sometimes mix them up and do a little post-production work. But truthfully,
is there a link from your main page to that page?
Facebook.
Facebook. Okay.
Facebook is the best way to know what's really going on.
Absolutely.
Do you guys Twitter?
Occasionally, yes, I have a Twitter.
Paul does.
How do you feel about tweeting?
What is your tweeting theory?
I don't tweedle often.
Is that the word for it?
No, I don't tweet. Well, it's a twit. There is a word for it. It's
not a twit.
Not a twit.
A tweet. You tweet.
A tweet.
I'm tweeting.
A Twitter tweets. Right, that's it. I occasionally, I tweet this show. So there is actually, if you go to twitter.com/PDRienzo, DERIENZO, if you just type in my name, you'll find my Twitter site, and then you can follow me. And I send out regular notices about the show, and when it's been uploaded to the internet, because this show is watchable on YouTube at our site.
What's your YouTube channel?
YouTube.com/LetEmTalk, LETEMTALK, and that's the main channel. But you can get it by just typing in our names. Let them talk. We have a blog. I have a website, regular home website and it's all interlinked together.
I have a YouTube channel too. We could cross.
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah, subscribe. Yeah, we'll cross. Subscribe. Also, we'll trade subscriptions.
Do whatever you do.
I think that the Twitter thing is such a funny. It's like fulfilling everyone's voyeuristic side. We all have our own personal stalkers now.
Well, I follow some interesting. I follow Yoko Ono.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I know that, for example, that she's going to be the Plastic Yoko Ono band is going to be playing out in L.A.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I know. You can find that out. I got Palin. What's her name? The nutty governor of
Sarah Palin.
Sarah Palin. Sarah Palin, she...
And Levi Johnston.
And Levi Johnson, I'm friended Levi on Facebook. Well, I actually have a few things in common with him, but I won't go on to it here.
What they are.
And it is a Bristol. And I did. So I found out I was one of the first to know when when Sarah Palin came out and embraced that stupid Laura, who's the person who used the N-word 3 times on television. Oh my God! So I found out when Sarah Palin agreed, was supporting that person and saying that was a wonderful thing. And reload. So I know all her racist right-wing rantings I get, and why I don't know. I just want to know what Sarah Palin's up to. And
so I just want to remind people
Glenn Beck.
that if they want to see more of Kennedy's paintings live and in person, they can go by the Cocoa Bar on Clinton Street.
Yes, they'll be up at Cocoa Bar until October.
Oh, so that's great.
And I'm doing a series of miniature paintings for a really cool boutique that was just opened.
I love miniature. How small are you going to?
They're going to be about half the size of that smaller one, and then some more that size. Not really.
Not
really
this kind.
No, that would be.
I made a painting this big.
Did you really?
I'll have to show it to you.
So cute. So they're going to be about this big, and they'll be a little less expensive, and it's at a new store that's opening on Clinton Street called Work, W-E-R-K.
Okay.
And some lovely girls from Cooper Union have opened it and opened their doors.
There's
to
so many
young
new
artists.
things in that part of the city, so it's really quite amazing.
Over in the Lower East Side.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, another Lower East Side thing we should bring up is the school.
What's cool?
Yeah. Oh, I almost forgot. East Side Community High School, ESCH.org.
S.org.
You have to vote. Vote for them to get over. They need to get $500,000. They need a certain number of votes. They have to be in the top 20.
Because there's a company giving out $500,000 to 20 schools, and it's the top 20 schools that get the votes on Facebook. So look for this Lower East Side school so that they can get the money, so they win the money. That's what is it?
East Side Community High School.
East Side Community High School, so ECHS.org.
Right, and you can go
there.
there.
They'll show you how to vote.
Right. Get on your Facebook
but
and then you vote for it.
They need a lot of votes, people.
Yeah, we need everybody out there to do that. So get out there and vote for them so they get their $500,000.
How do they find them on Facebook?
Just type in the East Side Community High School, New York City.
All right. We're about to be done, so I just wanted you to give out your website one more time.
Okay, all of them?
Yeah.
All my artwork and my custom painting clothing line can be seen at KennedyYankoArt.com, KennedyYankoArt, KennedyYankoArt.com, and my video blogs can be seen at doyousocial.com.
Thanks
Kennedy's
for coming
Thank
tonight.
you so much. It's been
Thank you, Kennedy, for coming
Such a
on.
pleasure.
I
Love
really
your
appreciate
beautiful
it.
painting.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right.
And take care. We'll see you next week.